guys, welcome to Northwest Connection. This episode we're joined by Swiss hardcore legends Coilguns. They crashed into the studio with their raw energy, blistering riffs and zero compromise. From DIY ethics to chaotic live shows, this episode dives straight into the heart of their noise-fueled philosophy. Let's get into it. Hi guys, welcome to Northwest Connection. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Hello.
Yeah, I'm Luke. I'm playing in the band.
I'm Jonathan and I play guitar in Coilguns.
And how did the band come together?
Oh wow, it's been a while. We basically started the band in 2012, I think, 2011. 2011, yeah. We used to, so Louis, the singer, Luke, drums, and me playing guitar. We started the band in 2011 while we were touring with a German metal band called The Ocean. And while being on tour as session musicians with The Ocean, we decided that we wanted to start a band for fun somehow. And this band for fun turned out to be Coilguns, which is still for fun, but also which is what we do the most in our lives now. So that's how it came together eventually.
So what keeps you excited about making heavy music after all these years together?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think all of us, we don't even listen exclusively to heavy music anymore. Like we have the classics, but I don't know, like the energy that we find within the band playing together was really born with heavy music, and so I think that's how we carry our message and everything we want to do with this band through. We still love, like physically, I love playing heavy music. I think that's something that we really connect together with it. Yeah, I mean, we definitely took a turn in terms of songwriting with this band compared to the first records we did, and try to make it a lot more easy listening in some way, but still like keeping the like heavy, high energy component in it, like as much as we can.
So when you think about the band today, what feels most different from when you started?
Well, I mean, I guess the one component that's still been the same since the very beginning is the energy, as Luke was saying, right? So the energy, the fact that we've always played every note like our life was depending on it, right? So that's the constant. Then about the music, it's, let's say that for the first records, I think back then we were still not making music for musicians, not in terms of energy, but maybe our music was more like riff-based or technically based, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now it's like, I have the feeling that now we're writing songs more, maybe, like proper music. It's not a judgment on whether riff-based music is music or not, It's just like, with this band, me as the guitar player and, one of the early, I compose in the early stages of a song, I'm less focused on the technicality of what I play rather than what are the vocals are gonna sound on the song we write. So that's where I join Luke, when he says that it's a bit more easy listening. It's like, I think it's a bit more understandable for anyone when, like 12 years ago, 15 years ago, maybe that music we were going into this like weird time signatures and all that was a bit more technical, and it was great. It's also what made the band,
Yeah.
And we still use that, but a little bit less than before, let's say.
So you just talked a little bit about where you've come from as a musician. So what is your musical background? And how did you get started?
As a band or as just like...
You guys personally, how did you start playing drums, Luke, and how did you start with guitar?
I started playing drums when I was really, really young, listening to my parents' records because none of my parents were musicians or whatever. For me, it took like a long time to actually meet with people. Like, we're coming from a very small town, and it's not like somewhere you known for his music industry or whatever. So it took me like a lot of just practice or whatever on my own. I just felt the need to play drums very early, and at some point my parents pushed me into taking lessons, and then I started finding some friends to play with and starting making bands, and then I met Jonah, and from there it was Coilguns and everything. But like influences or whatever were really, when I was a kid, like just my parents' records. So they used to have like Queen and The Police, and my dad used to love Deep Purple or this kind of stuff. Then I started to develop like tastes of my own with my friends. So it was like bands like Rage Against the Machine or Nirvana, they've got big influence and then so on. But really, it got I mean, the influences really came from the people I play with and what I was listening to at the moment. So it would take probably forever to really cite everything. That's a whole other story, but yeah.
On my side, it was really my father. So we live in Switzerland. We're based in Switzerland, and my father was born in South Italy, and he actually arrived in Switzerland because he was playing back then in the late 70s, early 80s. He was playing in a cover bands, back then when there were no DJs, so it's still a thing. So he was playing in big hotels and stuff. So my father was a musician, and when he settled, when I was born, he opened a music shop in our small town in Switzerland. So I was kind of born into the thing, surrounded by music all the time. But I can't say that I know my dad has a crush or had a thing for 70s rock, obviously, but he also had a thing for Italian variety music, which I'm not so much into. But my older sister, she's 6 years older than me, so when she was 18, I was 12. She was wearing Nirvana shirts and she was smoking weed, and she introduced me to the Unplugged from Nirvana, and that was the starting point for me. From there on, I started taking guitar lessons, and I had my first band when I was 13, I think, with people that were older, and that's somehow through these people that I met Luc. So when I met Luc the first time, we were only doing rehearsals, but at these rehearsals, we were playing Limp Bizkit, Deftones, Slipknot songs, and that went on for years before we even started the band. And then we kind of we parted ways with different projects, and then we came back together. When I joined The Ocean, I was the first Swiss person of joining The Ocean Collective, and then after a tour I invited Luc to join, and that's when we reconnected, and through The Ocean we started Coilguns. And I have to say that when we started Coilguns with also Louis the singer, I was in the early 2000s, I was really, after Slipknot and Korn and Deftones, I discovered Converge and Dillinger Escape Plan, but I still didn't understand. So then I went on into metalcore a lot, and then years later when we started Coilguns, meeting Louis and Luc, which had a very more solid rock background, a real rock background and noise background as well. That's when I discovered all this and understood this kind of music, and that really, opened my mind about it. And so what really shaped who I am today as a musician and as a person as well was meeting these guys and having a band with them.
Awesome. So how would you describe Coilguns music to somebody who's never heard them before?
How would we describe Coilguns music to somebody who hasn't listened
never
to
heard Coilguns?
Yeah. But someone that has never heard it but knows what noise music is, for example, or someone that doesn't know anything about music.
Doesn't know anything.
Okay, so someone that doesn't know anything, I would say that we're playing kind of some pissed off rock and roll with a big smile that makes you want to smile and hug people at the end while sweating a lot.
Perfect.
With a dark edge to it, but always with a smile. That would be a very weird description to someone that doesn't know anything in this.
I think that's accurate.
I was going to say it's definitely accurate from what I've seen.
Sounds perfect.
So, how does the songwriting process start for Coilguns? Is it a collaborative all the time, or does one person usually take the lead?
Well, most of the songwriting comes from Jonah. For as long as we wrote records, it used to be a lot more collaborative, in the sense that we would mostly for the early records, Jonah would write riffs on his own, and I would join him in the rehearsal room, and we would kind of develop the songs or the skeletons of the songs together as guitars and drums, and then Louis would add we used to be a three-piece, and Louis would add vocals, and he always had a big or a better capacity to zoom out on these skeletons to kind of make them songs. And lately we've been more working with new technologies and still coming the bass coming from Jonah, writing songs on his own at home, on his guitars, recording with maybe demo drums that comes from a computer, sending them to me. Then I would go to the rehearsal room, listen to them, try out drum parts, recording those drum parts. Then we would like we would kind of make something of those together, sending this to Louis and Kevin now, and having all the parts together. Then Louis is doing the most, like again, like the zooming out and thinking about how a song properly could be, but like all. It's always been coming from Jonah's ideas mostly.
And where are you finding the inspiration?
Yeah, Louis' part is very important because he's acting as a, you could say, artistic director, right? So I write riffs, and I need to write riffs on drums, as Luke said. So I program drums, but also playing with such a great drummer, I don't go too deep with the drums, right? and so, you know, it goes, now as Luke said, with new technologies, it goes just from one person to the other person to the other person. Eventually it lands on Louis' lap, and then Louis like destroying everything. Not in the sense, in a bad way, but he's the vocalist, right? So he's like, maybe one part that I thought was the chorus, for him is going to be the verse. And he does this job, which is very important. And once he's gone over this, we all meet together, and then we figure out things together. So it's very collaborative. It's true that I give the let's call it the color to the record, but in the end, it goes through everyone. And there's not one single note that is being played on the record or one single sound that hasn't been approved by everyone. Yeah.
So, when you do disagree on something musically, how do you settle it?
We'll just kick it out.
Right, okay.
It's like, literally, I mean, you can argue to a point and someone can understand your point, but if someone's not comfortable or really think it, you know, it's like, I think we've worked together for a long time now, and I think our ideas are, you know, we have some kind of alchemy that works. So if something doesn't speak to someone, even if another person in the band thinks it's the shit, you never want to go on stage and play something you're not fully 100% behind. So, and it has happened, and the fun fact is that with ego on the moment, maybe you feel a bit like, you know, like, that sucks. But I'm telling you, like, after 1 week when you're busy with like listening to the 5th version of the mix and the 100th version of the mastering, you forgot this riff or this part that you were so much about. So yeah, it's as easy as that. Someone doesn't like something, then you kick it out.
So are your songs finished before you go in the studio, or are you still experimenting when you're recording?
It depends on the record, actually. Every record's been different, of course, and as Luke said, we used to write everything in the rehearsal room and we used to record live and uncut completely in one take. Millennials, which was the second record, and Watchwinders, which was the third record, those were written while recording. We didn't have, so we were writing while recording. And then for Odd Love, we took 2.5 years to write. So we arrived in the studio super ready, and we had a super long time in the studio. And for this latest record that's going to come out this year, well, we didn't have any time. So when we got to the studio, it was between a Mexican tour and a European tour. And we had never played the song together, which was the very first time that we recorded an album that way. So, you know, we're just experimenting, I guess. And it was really good to do that this time. I think the result is amazing. But I'm super glad because we've always been a lot behind the idea that you need to know your song and play live and all that. And for that record, it was just not possible. I mean, drums and bass were recorded together, but everything else was overdubbed. And we've never, actually, this record that is done now, we've never played the songs together, ever.
No, never.
I've never played the songs with you. And, you know, the challenge is like, we know each other enough. I think that the record still has a natural feel, but like, it changes with every record, and I think it's great. It's great that the process is always different. It's great that the recording process is different as the writing process. We're just experimenting, and, you know, that's what's stimulating in the end.
No, that's true, and like really the time frame on this one didn't allow us to actually learn the songs together and play them as a live band. So anyone who witnessed our first live versions of these songs are gonna be like the very first ones.
So you've also recorded with artists like Birds in Row and Louis Yucca. How did these collaborations come about?
You said Birds in Row and Louis Yucca?
Yeah.
Yeah, and what was the...
How did the collaborations come about?
Well, with Louis, Louis is the singer of the band, right?
All right, okay.
So that's how.
Yeah, so Louis Yucca is the singer of Coilguns. The thing is that he has a solo project that is more like intimate DIY folk music, and I'll tell you what the story is that he wanted to do a band version of his solo project, so he asked Coilguns to be his backing band.
It's okay.
And I think his hidden agenda was to have us sing. So once we started again with the heavy band, we would start doing backing vocals, which we did eventually.
Not me though.
Not you. Well, you were singing with the...
Yeah, that's it. Okay, yeah.
And now backing vocals are a very big part of the band. And with Birds in Row, it was really easy. Like, it was not us. It's a magazine in France that is releasing hard copies still nowadays. And they do this exclusive 7 inches with like exclusive tracks. Usually they do split recordings. But since Birds in Row are very good friends and they were in the studio and we were in the studio at the same time, they just asked us, would you like to, do you have an extra song? And both Birds in Row and us didn't have an extra song, but we were like, what about if we go in the studio together and we do, you know, we write together?
Awesome.
And that's how it happened. And I'm very glad because for me it's still weird to listen to these songs because it's not, you know, it's not our band.
No,
but it is some extent.
Yeah, sure.
And so I can listen to this and be like, wow, I like that fucking band, that's great.
So did that time with Birds in Row change how you wrote for Coilguns afterwards?
Can you repeat?
Get the question?
Did the time working with Birds in Row change how you worked on your own songs?
Really, I think it was really kind of a one-shot thing that was really different from however we would like write songs. Okay, bye, Jonah. But it didn't really affect the songwriting of whatever came up next after this session. But it did really like open our minds, I guess, to do these kind of things with like bands. That was the first time we really like collaborated into like the songwriting and recording original songs with another bands. And they're actually really, really good friends of ours. And we kind of, it's kind of in the air to do it again, but like our agendas, both the Birds in Row and ours are so busy and so like out of the place. It's very difficult to make the experience happen again. But
hopefully in the future. So, do you guys have specific roles?
Yeah.
Do you guys have specific roles in the band?
Say again?
Music?
We do. Like, you mean besides our own instruments?
Yeah, like your social media and your artwork.
Yeah. Now we actually like, as Jonah said, like Louise has a pretty good eye for like general artistic direction, so it also means artwork. Like it took care of hiring or contacting or getting people involved into the visual aspects of the band and kind of like supervising it. Jonah has like been forever the manager of the band. Now we work with different entities because now we can, but it's been like for a long time and he's still being the manager or tour manager of the band. And like we split, then I get to Kevin also has got like a pretty big also agenda into like we now play with like an in-ear system. Kevin is a sound engineer, so he kind of supervises all this too. Also, he's like a very good sound engineer and everything, and he's like, I think he took like duties of making sure everything works on stage. And John has been, for as far as I know him, so it means a long time before the band, doing the management kind of thing and communication. Even though we now speak to different other like entities that are doing this job, but still supervising this also. Maybe you have something to say about it. I don't know. Okay.
When I was listening, I thought so. Yes, no, it's quite an ecosystem, of course. You know, we've been a DIY band for a long time before we started working. I mean, label-wise, we work with our own label, which releases a lot of like Swiss artists actually. So we're the label, but we work with an external management. We now, I work with other people to mix our records, master our records. We work with graphic designers, etc. But we've been used to control the whole chain of things. So we do have a management, but I do the day-to-day management. We have a tour manager, but we do advancing together. And we do have a management to give us feedback, but Louis is doing the art direction and all that. And it's true that we also have two sound guys in the band, which are Louis and Kevin. So we can produce demos that are like high-end demos. We have our own recording studios, which is our rehearsal room, but it's equipped with recording studios. As Luc said, we have a big setup on stage as well that is controlled by Kevin. So I think by definition, we are a DIY band, just working to a certain level now, but we still do most of the things ourselves. Yeah.
So if we could talk about live performances now. Have you got a favourite live performance out of all the ones you've done?
Just, you mean like a show that we could remember that was great?
Yeah.
From Coilguns, you mean?
Yeah, from Coilguns, yeah. Like, is there anyone that really sticks out when you think about it?
The first Soul Crusher show.
Oh shit,
that
that's
one
a good one.
sticks to my mind a lot, but there's so many. But this one's kind of like kind of takes the cake somehow because of lots of different. I don't know.
Right.
We're not drunk, we're on the way. Sorry. So to get back to the question, it's hard because obviously we're playing many shows every year, and it's always, you have a show that sticks, but also depending on where you are in your career and what you're doing at the moment, one show can feel more than the other, so it's always hard to answer. But I think since the world is burning and that everything is shit in general, one show to remember was this show at Soul Crusher, which is a festival in the Netherlands. We played twice. And the first time we played was 2021. So, it was COVID times, obviously. And we played that show while in the Netherlands, they had just reopened that same week after like a lockdown for a year and a half. They reopened that 1 week. And then they had to close after that. Again, I don't know if you remember, but there was the second wave of lockdown. So for 1 week, the country was open and Soul Crusher was happening. So it's an indoor metal festival with 1,500 capacity. The main stage is 1,500. And we played the last slot on the Saturday or Sunday in the small room, so 400 cap. And man, this was so electric. People were so happy to, hug and be together. And we're the right band for that because we like to hug and sweat. And it was super electric and kind of, it was crazy. We hadn't played shows in like a year and a half or something for us, I think. And we didn't know that the show was actually filmed and recorded. So we released a full video of that show. And also we released the vinyl and CD. What you can hear, like, there was no pressure on. We played so bad and so fast that night, but the energy was so.
Yeah. Also, it was one of Kevin's first show with the band, I think.
That was the first show of Kevin. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. We played one squad show the night before in Amsterdam.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So that show everything was, like super great crew, big stage, super great gear, and we played our hearts out. And people got super crazy. And we decided to release it for that reason, but factually, we didn't play good or anything, It was just the energy.
Well, it wasn't bad, but it was like a hardy, good, like, proper show where, as Jonah said, because of all the circumstances, like, you play your heart out, crowd gives you their heart out. Yeah. And it's a proper exchange that's like really exploded.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So how do you guys prepare for a live show? Is it a quiet moment or is it all getting pumped up before you go on stage?
I don't know, it depends. I like and it changed during the years. Like I think nowadays it's more like everybody gets in their heads for half an hour before the show or before the changeover or whatever. And then now we have like now this tradition to kind of a group hug before the show to give us energy and just I don't know. For me personally, it really enabled the sharing our connection that is really deep as human being, and love is always like for these people and have this close moment before the show. But I think everybody prepares in their minds and heads and muscles in his own way, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, there's like everyone, as Luke said, like everyone has their own like routine. But it's also like sometimes being on the road and finding purpose in still playing in a heavy band and driving that many distances to play to that many people every night is need to acknowledge it. And so we have these band meetings before the changeover that, besides the personal part, are very important, because we're more than family, we're more than friends. It's like it's over that. It's in between a family plus and your lover, basically. That's where we're at as persons. And despite everything going on, we choose to do that. And so it's so important that we can do this, and we're so privileged to do this, that I think it asks for a moment before you do it together.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, what's the point? If you don't do it like 150%. And so we need to do that now that we also talk about how the crowd reacted to the bands before. If it's a festival, it's like we're playing the same set list every night, but we're not playing the same show. And the reason we don't play the same show, it's a matter of energy. And how do you deal with the energy you're giving is the discussion before that. So we do that a lot, actually. It's very important and it's very much in our routine to meet before the show and talk about how we're going to approach the stage, the changeover, the crowd, and all that.
Yeah.
Is there a venue or a city that really brings out that additional energy?
Sorry, what did you say?
Sorry again?
Is there a venue or city that brings out the additional energy in the band?
A special city that brings
Yeah.
special energy, you mean?
Yeah.
It's hard to make things. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. I mean, you could tell that in some countries, maybe some cities, people are more quiet and paying attention. I would say that if you play Roadburn Festival, for example, it's a lot of very educated people about music that have very sharp taste. They're more focused on the sound and the energy, so you can maybe perform less physically. I don't know how to say. It's different every night.
Yeah, it's different. Then we know there's some places have a different impacts for us about the energy. For example, hometown shows are always the ones where we're all a lot more stressed for the simple reason that lots of people that they see you, but they're not even they're not gonna see any other show or hardcore show, or they see you in a light that they've never seen you before or that they're not used to. So this, at least for me, put some kind of pressure. And then some other cities that we know we played a bunch of times, we do have expectations, so they impact also the energy that's before the show or during the show. If it stays how we used to know this city and these people, or if it's changed. But truly these kind of things will kind of impact the energy or how we feel before a show. But personally, it's to me, any show is a show, and I have to give 200% anyway. And I think that's pretty much the case for everyone in the band.
Yeah, so it's hard to say, we could tell you that, I don't know, we have a good following in Paris, for example. So when we play Paris, shows are usually great. But it's not a rule. It really depends on imagine that you're playing, when you're doing a full tour, you're playing on a Tuesday night somewhere. People have their own life going on. So they come to the show, maybe on a Tuesday night in Manchester. It's not going to be the same as if you play a Saturday night. So that's why we have these meetings before the shows, and we need to adapt to the mood, and whatever the mood is, we're going to deliver a show that is going to be 200%, but we're going to try to also catch the atmosphere.
Yeah, the vibe.
If you have people that are tired because it's a Tuesday, then you're going to play the same set list, but you're not going to go and walk on the ceiling and go to people and push, hug them in the crowd or whatever. So, it really depends on everything. I don't think there's a crowd that is more or less than the other. Yeah.
And how is your local scene?
Everywhere else, it's very alive, I would say. I mean, it's not hard for me to look at this because I run a record label, so I need to be aware of what's going on. Yeah. And it's very alive, but it's also very alive to me because I know what's going on, if you know what I mean. Yeah. Maybe strictly in our area, what I can notice is that guitar music has had a step back maybe in the last few years. There's many other stuff like we call this, here we could call this like urban music or lyrics and beats, like more like electronic music, hyper pop and all that.
Yeah.
This is something that is going on right now, but that's okay. Rock music has been, like over everything for like 60 or 70 years. And bands are better and better all the time, everywhere, I think. So, yeah, the local scene is doing good. I mean, we don't have the same structures or networks that you have in England, for example, or in the UK. It's less, the network is a bit less professional, but the bands are not really. Like the quality of the bands, they're great. But I'm talking about Switzerland because that's where we're from. But if you go to France, Germany, any fucking country, actually, when we're touring a lot,
It'll be different. Yeah.
how many times we had support bands, even with the ocean, that we were blown away. So I think there are passionate people and people that are good at playing great music everywhere. Then how much you're exposed is a different factor, and it depends, and it's a very different thing. But I like the scene in Switzerland. I mean, on the record label, we release about like 10 to 15 albums per year from Swiss artists, and this is the music I listen to the most. So
Awesome.
I would say it's great.
So, what's next for Coilguns?
Well, releasing that record by the end of the year. There's gonna be singles. Before that, we're gonna be on tour in May, mostly in Switzerland. Few shows here and there in Europe. We're going back to Mexico, which we went last September. Great experience. Yeah, I mean, few festivals here and there, but it's gonna be, except for May, it's gonna be fairly quiet until the record release, and then it should be busy next year.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we had a very busy year last year.
Yeah.
But a lot of touring we didn't expect with the Odd Love. So that's a record that really like put us on the map on a different level. Yeah, so in between 85 shows that we played last year, we had to record an album and now we have to put it out. So it's like there's no break. But indeed, we're not touring so much this year, May. Then when the album is going to come out at the end of the year, we're going to tour. You guys are based in the UK, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
UK being one of the main territories, we're probably going to go to the UK early 2027. That's the plan. So we're first going to tour within Europe and then we'll come back to the UK. We've done quite a lot last year in the UK and it was great. And so I'm just looking forward to go back there in 2027. Now we're going to release the first single in a month, actually. I mean, in a month, now that we talk. I don't know when the show is going to be aired. I think by the moment the show aired, probably the single is going to come out in a couple of days or it's going to be out. And yeah, from there we're gonna start this album cycle somehow. And I cannot wait.
So, is there anything in the future of Coilguns that feels exciting rather than overwhelming?
For me, well, just releasing this record as a very egocentric thing is gonna be a thing for us, between us. So I'm really excited about that. Not to sound too Teletubbies, or I don't know how to say, but Teletubbies, yeah. Aren't they nice?
They're nice.
They're super nice.
They're really nice.
So I think just the fact that we live in a country and a region where we can actually even envision music being our job and that we can release music and no one is there to bomb us or tell us we shouldn't do it or whatever. Only this is super exciting.
Yeah, the future is exciting.
So everything we do, like having this absence now with my brother and talking to you is exciting, and I think we're very privileged to be in this position and we'll never stop to acknowledge that. So everything that comes from that point on is exciting, especially when it is to share music and play music. So fuck yes.
So we're going to move on to the fun questions now, something a bit more light-hearted. What was the first gig you ever attended?
Like heavy or like any kind of shows?
Anything. Anything.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Wow. Okay. I don't know. I might have seen when I was a kid some shows, or like whatever shows there were at like the braderie, what we call like it's like the CD fair in our little hometown of La Chaux. I can't remember which bands or whatever it was. I was fairly good. I do them I remember my parents, we were going on holidays, always with a really old camper van that was really rusty. And at some point, they were really keen on just buying this like 4 days pass for Paleo Festival in Lyon, which is like a pretty main, maybe the biggest event in Switzerland.
Yeah,
Right? Music festival, like it's not as special as like metal, not whatever. But I remember before going back to our rusty camping van, watching The Pretenders with my dad. I don't really. I was about 9 or 10, but like I don't really. I remember maybe it was the moment and seeing like I was so meant to play music
Yeah.
at this point,
Yeah.
but I didn't exactly know what it was. But that's probably one of the first show that I remember that really like had an impact on me. But it was also like a bigger stage with a crowd, a big band too, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe that's my first like memory that I can really relate to in terms of everything we do now or what we watch now.
I don't even know the Pretenders. I've never listened to them.
Like it used to be a pretty big band.
We can listen to them tonight.
Yeah, great.
For me, like my dad was a musician, so I've been to his shows, but it was cover bands, right? And I remember maybe going to a few local shows, but a band that maybe like people in the metal scene could relate. I think the first very heavy international show I went to, like international band show I went to in Switzerland, was actually Soulfly and Earth Tone 9.
Oh wow!
Touring together. I can't remember this. You remember Earth Tone 9?
I remember
We played
we played shows.
with the Ocean with them as well. No, wait. Was it Earth Tone 9 or was it Glassjaw touring
No,
with
that was-
Soulfly?
That was Glassjaw.
That was
touring.
Glassjaw. Yeah.
But
So
yeah, we played with
with Earth Tone 9.
that's a UK band, right?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
they used to be.
They still
That
are. They
was
released an
like-
album last year or the year before.
But so I think the first very heavy show I went to as a teenager before, because I went to like in the year 2000, I went to see Dillinger, Converge, Slipknot as well. But the very first one was in a city close to where we're from. It was Philippe. And it was Soulfly with Glassjaw. Yeah.
Wow.
Awesome.
It was the best live band that you've seen in the last 12 months.
In the last 12 months,
Shit. I'm trying to open the doors in my brain,
Yeah,
but
me
the
too.
accent is making everything very blurry. I've seen a lot of good shows actually. That's what I can remember.
maybe for me, it might be maybe this US band called Agriculture. That's maybe one of the best metal shows definitely I've seen in the last 12 months.
But you saw them live?
Yeah, I saw them in Fribourg. Where you saw Glassjaw, the same
Like
venue,
25 songs ago.
Yeah, we're bad at this, sorry.
No, but honestly, the thing is that we see a lot of shows.
We see so many shows and so many good ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember seeing so many bands that we played with, and I don't remember their names. Otama, I remember their shows were great, you know.
Well, okay,
That's a
so
stupid
I
answer.
have one. That's probably the one I remember, and it's not to be. Also, Luke plays in another band called Beurre, which means
Aw.
butter, and that we release on our label. And it's for people listening to heavy music. This is some of the heaviest band you can listen to. And obviously, I love to see Luke playing. I think he's a great drummer, and he's my brother, and so I like to see him play because that doesn't happen that often. Yeah, that's right. And the band is very metal in some way, but it's also very psychedelic in the repetitions and stuff. And it has this like avant-garde kind of thing to it that makes it one of the most exciting heavy band for me in my knowledge to watch. And I've been able to see them like in the last couple of months a few times, especially that one show where you were playing basically a basement, and I think I really loved it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
If you could collaborate with one famous musician, past or present, who would it be?
Well, I mean, it would never be based on who's famous or not. Like, we collaborated with Birds in a Row because we offered this, and it's a band we respect and we admire for their ethics and their music and their personalities, and we did. And Luke and Louis, so the singer from Coilguns, and Luc, drummer from Coilguns, they have a duo called Coons, which is a noise band that no one knows about. And they did a record with Aaron and John from Red Fang. It's called Red Coons. So, the reason that happened is that back then, when we were playing with The Ocean, I remember being in the van with The Ocean, and we're listening to Relapse Records submitted albums for our next headline tour with The Ocean. So we're in the van listening to these bands, and then we listen to this band called Red Fang, right? And we're like, wow, this is, what is this? I remember exactly this moment, we're listening to it in the van, we're like, what is this? And then so we invite them on their first European tour, paying them 150 euros a show for the whole band. No, I know, I remember, it was that. But so let me tell you that the second tour, they were already 10 times bigger than The Ocean already. But the thing is that it just came out naturally. Then eventually, after a couple of years, we've been friends, we played with Coilguns with them as well. And then eventually, this collaboration came in, where like Luc and Louis did a record with Aaron and John. I don't know, I don't want to collaborate with people specifically because they're famous or what. I mean, now, this is very down to earth, the very down to earth answer. Now, maybe if you would tell me like, you could choose anyone in the whole world, well, I wouldn't know how to answer because I just go with whatever feeling I have with people. So that's my answer.
That's a good answer.
If you could pick one instrument that is unnecessary to put into the live set just for fun, what would it be?
With Coilguns, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, any instrument would be fun, for sure. None is unnecessary. I don't know. It would be fun to play one show without the guitar.
Oh, wait, that's the question?
Is it the question?
Yeah. Or is it like...
You can take out that instrument if you want, or you can replace it.
Well, I would replace the drums with the bagpipe. I think that could be fun. It would sound very stupid. That would still be Luc playing a bagpipe, but also with his feet. So,
Oh my god, that would be fun.
I don't even know if it was the answer to the question, but...
That's a
No,
good
that was
answer.
So some quick fire questions for you now. Vinyl or streaming?
Vinyl. I mean,
I do both. Like lately, I do lots of streaming.
okay, that's it's not gonna, quick fire is not gonna work with us, okay? You're gonna have full... It's like, I could answer vinyl to defend the format, but I like more of the... I like more of the
Convenient.
process of the vinyl for me is a very different way of listening to music, but the quality of what you hear is much better with streaming.
Analog or digital?
What?
Analog or digital,
I'm not an expert enough.
both.
It's like it's difficult to.
It's both. Even if you record your whole record in analog, you're gonna send the file to the pressing plant to press your vinyl. We've done records on analog tapes.
Like completely, yeah.
We've done records on purely analog,
We've done this.
and other on digital. Like I have not. Both are good. It depends what you want to do, and mixing them is just great. See, that's Swiss neutrality.
Swiss neutrality doesn't exist.
Swiss neutrality doesn't exist.
That's a lie, people.
Loud or quiet practice?
Oh, loud. Practice?
Yeah.
Well, for me, loud.
Louder practice.
Loud or quiet practice. For me, there's
Loud,
no
of
other
course.
way.
Yeah.
When I'm playing drums, like I don't own an e-drum kit that just do so it's loud. All the
You
time.
would be loud with the e-drums.
I'd be probably loud.
Converge or refused?
Ouch.
Okay, Converge for me. I didn't grow up with Refuse. You did.
Yeah. I didn't grow up with Refuse, but it's a. Yeah. Yeah, I'd say yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Tea or
enough.
coffee? Tea or coffee? Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Tea or coffee?
Tea or coffee?
Oh, tea or coffee? Tea.
That was an easy one.
Van snacks, sweet or savoury?
Can you repeat?
Again, please.
Van snacks, sweet or savoury?
Van snacks, sweet or savory?
Yes.
What's the difference? Like, what's savory qualified to?
Crisps or chips, cheese type things, you know, something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet or savory?
Savory, of course. Sorry, that makes sense
Whiskey? Whiskey or rum?
Whiskey.
Whiskey.
Okay, and the last question. Cheese fondue poured over popcorn or a pretzel filled with cold mashed beetroot?
The fondue thing for me.
How long did it take to
Does
think about
does it
this
even
question?
exist?
This is most of my week after work is thinking of these last questions.
Yeah, cheese fondue by far.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Whatever is with it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on, guys. It's been a pleasure.
And looking forward to seeing
Thank
you in the
you.
UK in 2027.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hopefully, our biggest headline tour is going to come up in 2027 in the UK.
Amazing.
Thank
And
you.
I hope, I don't know if I sent you the single so you could listen to it.
I didn't want to bring it up because I'm just keeping it confidential.
That's cool. That's cool.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.